Hello darlings. The last time I was wearing this dumb wig, I couldn't stop touching it. Sorry about that in advance. This video is going to be about the differences between bipolar and BPD. When I told my dad, for example, that I had BPD, he was like, so what is that, bipolar? And I don't blame him at all because most people don't really know what BPD is, and it does sound like bipolar disorder. It does kind of annoy me when people get them confused, but I'm not blaming the people, I'm blaming the educational system, I'm blaming the lack of funding in mental health and education. It's not anyone's fault that no one knows what BPD is. And it's not anyone's fault that people get BPD and bipolar confused because they have similarities, but they have big differences too. So I'm gonna get into that. Obviously I'm not a psychologist. Don't take my word for it, if you know what I mean. Like, talk to a psychologist, ask her professional questions. But I'm sick of the idea that like you have to be a professional to talk about your mental health, especially if you have experience in a disorder. Like, there is a video I watched ages ago which is done by a professional and she's amazing. She did a video called something like Bpd Vs Bipolar, and she like really in depth talked about the differences. Psychologically, it's like a very sciencey video. It's more professional and it's very HD and everything. So yeah, I'm not a psychologist, I've never claimed to be. First, I'm going to go into the similarities. With both BPD and bipolar, we can have depressive episodes, manic episodes basically, and there are a lot of differences. The main differences occur with the timings of these things. So with BPD, our mood swings can last hours or minutes, and we have multiple ones throughout the day. A day with BPD looks a lot different than a day with bipolar. A person with BPD can feel happy and then really, really low and depressed the next minute, and then fine again, and then manic, and then low, then numb, then angry. Our day is like a massive fluctuation of emotions. Whilst people with bipolar have mood swings, it's less frequent, and so their mood swings can last weeks and to even months. Like I said at the beginning, I'm not a psychologist, so I might make mistakes. Like, if any of you have bipolar, please correct me. But for what I know, their depressive episodes can last up to weeks to months at a time, and then their manic episodes can last to weeks to months at a time. So when people are like, oh, the weather's so bipolar, using it as an adjective, it would actually be more accurate to say the weather's so BPD because our mood swings are actually more frequent. And there was this meme like, a hot dog filter, who are you? I'm you but faster. So I will go into the differences more in depth, but I just want to quickly talk about the similarities. We get like depressive moods, we feel sad, empty and hopeless, diminished interest in pleasure and activities, weight gain or weight loss, insomnia or hypersomnia, feelings of worthlessness or excessive guilt, indecisiveness or poor concentration, recurrent thoughts of death or suicide. When it comes to the manic episodes, we both can feel elevated or even like an irritable mood, increased goal direct activity, high risk taking behaviours, grandiosity or inflated self-esteem. So I feel like with BPD we can either feel empty, like a worthless piece of shit, or like low-key god complex. And I feel like that defo ties into bipolar as well. Distractibility, increased energy, decreased need for sleep, impulsivity. Bipolar is usually strongly associated with brain chemistry and genetics, and BPD is always associated with childhood trauma. Whilst it's always associated with that, it's kind of like a massive myth that everyone with BPD has childhood trauma. I made a video on it before, like, you don't have to have had childhood trauma or trauma to have BPD. I haven't had childhood trauma and I still got BPD. Although it's strongly associated with life events, I do believe it's genetics as well, or just simply the way you're born and like the way your brain is like connected. Whilst it's not like a chemical imbalance, I do think it's like a structural brain thing, because we do have small amygdala glands and like problems within our physical brain. I think it's something like 70% of us have had childhood trauma. For the 30% of us, I do believe it can be just something you're born with. So with bipolar, impulsivity is only really present in a manic episode. People with bipolar, their mood swing lasts days or weeks, and ours can just last like minutes. Bipolar has two phases, the depressive episodes and the manic episodes. So we have two phases too, if that makes sense, you know, black and white thinking. A similarity between the two is that we can have periods in our life where we're symptom free. And there's definitely been times in my life where I haven't had a symptom for a while and I'm like, I'm cured. BPD who, but the same goes for bipolar. And what's unfortunate is that misdiagnoses happen. And I think the reason for this is because there are overlapping characteristics. For example, impulsivity, unstable relationships, inappropriate anger. You can have a comorbid diagnosis of the two. My impulsivity could be spending money, dyeing my hair and stuff like that, and I know that kind of stuff is apparent in people with bipolar. So whilst researching a bit for this video, some random websites are people with BPD are manipulative and people with bipolar aren't. People with bipolar get euphoria, people with BPD don't. Y'all are chatting shit. I know people with BPD experience euphoria. I might do a video on it. We do have these manic moods and everything's perfect, and euphoric is the perfect word to describe an elevated mood with BPD. We're never happy or just sad. We're depressed or we're euphoric. Don't believe everything you read. I come across the dumbest, most stigmatizing articles. You really do have to be careful about the websites you read. My personal favorite website is The Mighty. They are amazing. They do articles on autism, bipolar, BPD, any single disability you can think of, any single mental illness. They will make amazing content about it and never stigmatize. They get quotes from actual people with those disorders, not just speculating and making stuff up. The Mighty is a great website. For example, I'm on a random website. This one doctor's how to diagnose a child with BPD. They will be hypersexual and pregnant. A child being pregnant. Wow, the stigma, who writes this? I honestly believe they make it up on the spot. That was a medical website. How dumb is that? So, some more similarities. Mood swings, of course. High risk of substance abuse, hypersexuality, exaggerated behaviours and emotions, so we have intense emotions. Poor self-esteem. So yeah, BPD is not really it's not a chemical imbalance with bipolar. They might be lacking serotonin or chemicals like dopamine, and so with bipolar it can be treated with medication and that can really help them. But with BPD it can't be cured by medication. There's no quick fix cure medication to help. Although I was on surgery, I just came off it for a year and a half. And whilst bipolar is more treatable to medications, BPD is more responsive to therapies such as DBT, dialectical behavioural therapy. Some symptoms of BPD can be treated through medication. It is possible to have both of them together, and I know a lot of people do. BPD and bipolar are two separate disorders. They're not the same thing. Whilst they have very similar symptoms, there's differences. You can have them comorbidly. They're both very dangerous. They're both very painful. BPD is just faster, and our mood swings are this every day. So bipolar is just a lot longer periods of mood swings, and BPD is this every day, and bipolar is more this. BPD is known as a personality disorder, and whilst it means there's nothing inherently wrong with your personality, all that means is that we feel, we think, and we relate slightly different to people without it. Thought patterns are different, our emotions are more intense, and with bipolar it's more of a mood disorder. So some similarities again include self-harm, which some with BPD, 70% of us with BPD have experienced self-harm. Also, Dr. Todd Grande, he's done multiple videos on BPD versus bipolar, so I'll put those up and in the link of the description. So yeah, I'm sorry this video is a mess. I was kind of just chatting shit. To anyone struggling with both, I can't imagine how difficult that must be. It must be just very, very difficult, and you're very strong for going through that. And yeah, I'm sending all my love because both of these disorders are very fucking hard. So I hope you've been taking good care of yourself, and if you haven't gone to your doctor about your mental health, don't just watch videos on YouTube. That's not gonna cut it. I know therapy isn't accessible to all, but if it is accessible to you, please do get help. And if it really isn't accessible, there are free worksheets and therapy worksheets you can find online. This book's on dialectical behavioural therapy. This is basically the treatment for BPD, and I literally found this on the side of the road. This is £18 on Amazon, I think, but you can find a free PDF. If you type in DBT workbook PDF or free book, you can literally find free therapy workbooks to better yourself. So yeah, good luck, and I hope you take care of your mental health. So yeah, I hope you have a good day, good week, good everything, and sending my love. And you can always talk to someone, you can always talk to me. Don't suffer in silence.